Welcome back. Right now, it's an absolute honor to have Tom Caravella joining us today. He's managing partner of the Caroline Group, as well as host of a very successful podcast. Tom, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, we are excited to have you here as well. I want to start with what you are doing, your primary role right now, which you have many. You're balancing quite a few things. But you are in the biotech and pharmaceutical industries. What originally got you interested and drew you to this industry in particular?
Yeah, well, I got to go back to the beginning. I always had an interest in the pharmaceutical world, and I was going back to my first job out of college. I was selling HMO plans, which 30 years ago wasn't the most attractive thing for a lot of people. No one wanted to switch their doctor. So I kind of started to make some connections in pharma and became a pharmaceutical sales rep. And I loved it. I did it for 10 years. It was an amazing job. But I always wanted to have my own business. And eventually I kind of accidentally on purpose wound up in the recruiting business through a friend of a friend, and then eventually started my own company. And I knew it was going to be focused in the pharmaceutical space. So that's a very short version, but that's how I landed in pharmaceutical recruiting.
And you're an expert in medical affairs recruitment. Tell me more about what specialized things that you offer your clients.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard to explain. The easiest way that I can is to say that we are a niche within a niche within a niche. And what that means is that we're a pharmaceutical and biotech recruitment firm that specializes in medical affairs recruitment, but more specifically, we recruit one specific type of job function. It's called the medical science liaison, which is a highly scientific field-based representation for pharmaceutical company. It's really a very popular title and functional area right now. It's a really growing field. And what we do is we spend probably 90% of our time just focused on building medical science liaison, or what they call MSL teams, for pharmaceutical and biotech companies.
I really like how you describe that, a niche within a niche within a niche. Makes a lot of sense. You know, you're in the medical business, that space. How has what you do changed over the years, especially with the pandemic? So much emphasis, so much stress within medical field in particular. How has that changed what you do?
Well, it's changed to the better for this industry because the pandemic has certainly hindered the amount of interaction for pharmaceutical companies, the amount of face time that they are able to get. So traditionally, you have your field sales reps that try to get face time with key opinion leaders and physicians and healthcare practitioners. And then you have MSLs, which are a more highly scientific field-based representative. Now, what's happening is, because of the limited amount of time that key opinion leaders or KOLs have, MSLs are starting to become the go-to source for these practitioners to be able to get all their information, their data and specialized information. So it's made the value proposition for MSLs even greater. So they're getting more face time than their commercial counterparts on the sales side, which is as a result, it's increased the value proposition for medical science liaisons and medical science liaison hiring, which has been a direct benefit to us.
And as an MSL recruiter and founder of the Caroline Group, how do you balance all of your differing responsibilities in both of these spaces?
It's tough, and I'll tell you, there's never enough hours in the day. But I'm the type of person where I'm trying to be laser focused. I try not to follow the next shiny thing that pops up into my inbox or beeps on my phone. I believe in being intentional, and I believe being laser focused every single day. I even did a podcast called Intention: How to Achieve Your Goals. It's one of my most popular podcasts. And I really stick to it. So I set a daily intention strategy every day. It goes beyond your normal to-do list because I hold myself accountable for getting things that must get done. It's not chasing what's urgent versus what's important. It's just staying true to what you really have to get done each day. And that's the philosophy that I follow each and every day.
And tell me about your MSL Talk podcast. I know it's experiencing great success, which you completely attribute to your guests that you've had on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So coincidentally, I started the podcast in March of 2020. So it literally was published and aired right when the pandemic hit. So it's been 2 years now. We've had 100 episodes. We're currently ranked in the top 2% globally in the careers category. We're in over 60 countries and we have hundreds of thousands of listeners. And I really attribute the success to the experts and the leaders in the medical affairs community that have been willing to come onto my podcast and share their knowledge, share their expertise. It's a 30-minute conversation, and the only criteria that I have is that there are takeaways for the listeners. And that's why it's become so popular. People that listen to the podcast, they tell me all the time, they're like, Tom, I feel like I need to pull over and take notes. And that's what I want. And that's why the podcast has been so successful. And I attribute that to the wonderful, wonderful guests that I've had on.
Now, we mentioned that you are balancing many different responsibility and roles, that you have laser focus and are in the present moment as much as you can be with everything that you're doing. But also being in the medical industry, you carry a great weight of providing the best service that you can, making sure that you perform everything that they expect of you to the top of your ability. What advice do you have for business professionals, entrepreneurs who also carry that weight of responsibility of being the best they can and providing incredible service to their customers and clients?
That's a great question. And the most important thing as a business owner, whether it's dealing with your customers or dealing with your employees, is you have to stay positive. First and foremost, every single day, come into your day, into your office with a positive attitude, a positive mindset, and just expect that there's going to be some adversity. There's going to be challenges. That's just the nature of business, any business. So when you stay 100% positive, your employees see it, your clients see it, your customers see it, and they feed off that positive energy, and it really makes others want to work with you. I think that that's paramount to any company's success, is not to get caught up in all of the negative things that could happen, the adversity that could happen. Stay positive, stay upbeat, keep your level of enthusiasm and passion for what you do, and that's going to translate into passion from your employees, and it's going to lead to a lot of success. I know it sounds simple, but it's a really great foundation of how to go about your day when you're a business owner.
Oh, excellent advice, really, for anyone in any career industry. Tom, where can we get more information on everything that you do as an MSL recruiter, also the Carolyn Group, and your podcast?
I think the first place is follow me or connect with me on LinkedIn. I publish everything on LinkedIn. It's become a great resource for me to provide content for anyone that's interested in the medical affairs community and the services that we provide, both from the client perspective and the candidate perspective. You can find the podcast, it's MSL Talk, and you can find that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and we have a YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and type in MSL Talk, you'll see the channel come up. There's all of the podcasts on video, but there's also helpful short videos that are educational in nature. We also have a website. It's www.carolyngroup.com. So all that stuff is on there as well. And but I would definitely urge you to check out my LinkedIn page, because all my articles and all my content is updated regularly, including announcements for the podcast.
Well, thank you so much, Tom Caravella, for joining us today. Really appreciate your insight, your advice to people who are entrepreneurs, also business professionals, really anyone. Also appreciate learning more about what you do as an MSL recruiter, the Caroline Group, and encourage everyone to tune into your podcast. We'll be back with more right after this.